The sun and the moon, a sky without her. A year had passed since the great eclipse, and Tokyo flourished under a sky that seemed brighter than ever. But for Yuki, the sunlight felt like a heavy shroud. He walked the halls of Seiryo Academy alone, his expression as cold as the lunar frost his sister once commanded. His solar powers had grown terrifyingly vast, manifesting in involuntary flares of heat that singed the air around him. The city called him a hero, but to Yuki, the world was merely a collection of long shadows where Kurohana used to be. The change arrived on the night of a forbidden crimson lunar eclipse. As the moon turned the color of rusted iron, a figure stepped from the library's deepest archives. It was Akira, a senior researcher whose eyes were weary with forbidden knowledge. "She isn't gone, Yuki," Akira whispered, his voice trembling against the unnatural wind. Kurohana is sealed within the ley lines of the city, trapped between the pulse of the earth and the pull of the stars. She is calling out, but only a soul of equal weight can hear her. Yuki grasped Akira's sleeve, his fingertips burning the fabric. "How do I reach her?" he demanded. Akira looked away, his face etched with pity. "The seal requires a balance of forces to open. To pull a soul back from the celestial void, another must take its place. To free the moon, the sun must descend. It would cost you your life, Yuki. You would become the very essence that sustains the world, losing your human form forever." Yuki didn't hesitate. The fire in his eyes burned brighter than any warning. Strange, jagged rifts began to tear across the city, glitches in reality where shadows behaved like ink in water. Yuki followed the pull in his chest to the shrine of the Weeping Moon, a forgotten sanctuary hidden beneath the roots of a massive, ancient camphor tree. The air here was stagnant and freezing, smelling of ozone and old memories. The eclipse crown, a dormant force that fed on the grief of the siblings, began to pulse beneath the soil, sensing the sun's arrival. At the center of the shrine, Yuki found her. Kurohana's spirit was suspended within a crystal pillar of solidified moonlight, her eyes closed as if in a deep, sorrowful sleep. Yuki pressed his hand against the cold surface, and for a fleeting second, her eyes fluttered open. Their touch sent a violent jolt through the shrine, and the eclipse crown finally manifested, not as a treasure, but as a monstrous vortex of violet and gold energy that sought to consume them both. The crown roared, a sound like grinding tectonic plates. It was the physical manifestation of the siblings' shared trauma, a parasite that grew stronger as Yuki's desperation mounted. He fought the vortex with pillars of solar fire, but every strike only fed the beast's hunger. He realized then that he couldn't win by force. The crown was the imbalance itself, the proof that the sun and the moon were never meant to occupy the same space without a price being paid. Through the shimmering veil of the seal, Kurohana's voice echoed in his mind, clear and heartbroken. "Don't do it, Yuki. The prophecy says we cannot inhabit the same sky. If I return, you will fade." Yuki smiled, a gentle, sad expression that looked more like his old self than he had in a year. "Then let the sky change," he whispered. He began to pour his entire life force, every spark of heat and drop of solar blood, into the cracks of her lunar prison. The shrine exploded in a silent, blinding radiance. Yuki's body shattered into a billion golden particles, flowing like a river of molten stars into the seal. The eclipse crown shrieked as the sheer purity of his sacrifice overwhelmed its hunger, dissolving the monster into nothingness. In that final moment of transition, Yuki felt the weight of the world lift. He wasn't dying. He was becoming the warmth that would hold the darkness at bay for eternity. When the light receded, the red moon was gone. In its place, the sky had turned into a permanent, breathtaking twilight, a velvet expanse of deep indigo infused with shimmering veins of gold and silver. Kurohana woke on the mossy steps of the shrine, gasping for air. She reached for her power, but the shadows no longer obeyed her. She was a normal, powerless human girl, She looked up at the beautiful, eternal dusk and wept, knowing the price of her breath. Years later, a young girl named Akari sat on a hillside, watching the horizon where the gold of the sky met the silver of the horizon. Beside her sat an older Kurohana, her hair streaked with gray, but her eyes full of peace. "Why doesn't the sun ever go away, Lady Kurohana?" Akari asked, leaning against her. Kurohana hugged the child close, feeling the gentle heat of the air against her skin. "Because he promised he would never leave us in the dark," she replied softly. And though the night had ended, the warmth of the sun remained, cradling the world in a promise that never sets.